exactly what you were talking about, that the federal government's in violation of the Constitution because of all their bureaucracies being armed. I wanted to see if you've been in contact with him or him with you. And then also, I read in the Salt Lake Tribune as well about the Western legislators meeting up in Utah yesterday about this very thing, that they need to start getting their land back from the federal government and the state's land versus the federal government.
Okay, what you're talking about is a lot of confusion. The Constitution is not any kind of confusion. There's no doubt that Utah and the state of Nevada is a sovereign state. You don't have to read only just a little bit in the Constitution to understand that we are a sovereign state. That's what our founding fathers intended to happen. That's what the Congress did when they made them a state. So why don't we act like we're a state? Now talking about like what Ken Ivory and the people in there are several Western states, what is American Land Council, I believe. What are they doing? And this is what Bundy has to say. You cannot ask the President of the United States for your land back. You cannot ask Congress for your land back, and you can't expect the judicial system to give your land back. And why? Some of you ought to know the answer by now. Why?
Because we already own it.
They don't have it.
They don't have it. Who has it?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, we the people already have it, so why you can't ask for that back if you already have it. So that's what I'm saying. You can't ask for something you already have. Am I right?
Correct.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Okay, why are we worrying about getting our land back? Why are we worrying about going to legislation? Why are we worrying about asking Congress or a representative of state of Nevada or whatever? They can ask all they want and they can't give you something you already have. Very simple. You only have, like I said, you only have to read a few words in the Constitution to figure that one out. Another question.
I got one right here, please. Speaking with Ammon earlier today, he mentioned there's this question about 20 years ago and previous to that, the BLM are offered to buy people's rights to their land. And a lot of people sold that. Now, Ammon can correct me. I think it was the BLM that actually bought the rights for some of these ranchers, or the state bought it on behalf of the BLM. Could you talk about previous ranchers selling?
I can talk about that and try to clear that up. What he's saying is my fellow ranchers, which I had 52 of them here in Clark County, there was a time when the administrative regulation had just about drove them all out of business. We'd been to the courts, and the courts actually ruled on our side. What the deal in the court was, does a cow affect the tortoise? And the court decision, there was no scientific evidence that the cow had any bad effect on the tortoise. So we walked out of the courtroom after spending about $100,000 there, a few ranchers who walked out of the courtroom with a victory. When we were on the steps of the court, Sahara Club lawyer steps up to the alongside, and remember, the decision, there's no scientific proof that there are any bad effects between the tortoise and the cow. And the lawyer steps up along the side of us and he says, maybe. Now remember, we just got through having a full force and effect saying we couldn't run cows here because of the tortoise. Now the judges said there's no scientific evidence that there's any conflict. But the environmental lawyer said maybe. They may be effect. And so now what happens? Within about 10 days, all these ranchers get another full force and effect decision, say remove your livestock because they may be effect of the tortoise, may be effect of on the habitat. So that then you can't go to their courts and win. So that at that point, a lot of my rancher friends bailed out because they couldn't see no wind. And there was, I think, 6 out of the 52 that got some payment. Part of that payment was from Clark County. Part of that payment come from Nature Conservancy. And I don't know how that land transfer went. They were buying rights. Do you remember those preemptive rights that's been created through beneficial use? That's what the government wanted, is those rights, those water rights, those grazing rights, access rights.
So does that actually would be proof then, if they were willing to buy those rights, then you're standing on your rights because you didn't sell out.
Yeah, and that proved that rights were really worth something, and rights was worth enough money, or worth something enough the government actually bought rights.
Thank you. Good answer. Thank you.
Another question.
I know a ranching family up in Nye County, same situation. His grandfather started the ranch. He estimated that between him and his dad, since the BLMs have been formed, they've spent over $3 million defending their rights, trying to run them into the ground.